think about Black Lives Matter here for a little bit. Um, Now, I'm not going to ever mean to say that Black lives don't matter because they do. They do entirely. Every single life matters. That's for sure. I'm also not going to be one of those people who has the hashtag All Lives Matter either. Even though all lives do matter, but I feel like the whole Black Lives Matter thing isn't really. It's like misplaced. I think is a good word for it. Um, Misplaced and um, not entirely. I guess the organization which aims to um, stand up for Black lives all over this country, and I think they're just trying to make it a fact, that trying to make it known that Black lives do matter, and that the organization I think comes from killings of certain black people like Alton Sterling or um, uh, Freddie Gray in Baltimore. Uh, Alton Sterling was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Um, Stuff like it kind of started from the George Zimmerman thing, and in like 2011, I think it was, when he killed Trayvon Martin. Now that guy was guilty. Guilty, I know he was. I mean, eh, Trayvon Martin may have been, you know, doing some shady business. I don't know, but there was obviously no reason for him to shoot him. There was no reason for him to be defensive at all. Definitely not at all. So Zimmerman was definitely guilty. Um, that's for sure. However, he didn't. I mean, I think he was. He's definitely guilty. And the Black Lives Matter organization came from that, and a lot of other incidents that occurred of black people dying. Um, and the whole Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, the one in Ferguson, Missouri, forget that guy's name. Alton Sterling is one. There's another one in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A lot of these things have been happening like more and more, and Black Lives Matter has come from that. And they're trying to say that when these people have been killed, that it's racism and they didn't have a reason to. When in most of the cases, they did have a reason to. They did have a reason to. The people that they shot either had a gun or was going to do something to harm themselves or others. It's definitely, I think, they most of the time, not always. There's a few cases where the cop did not rightfully shoot. There is some cop corruption. I'm not saying that is not the case, because that is true. There is cop corruption in this country. However, most of the time lately, um, when a black person was shot, particularly Freddie Gray and Alton Sterling, um, those are the two of them that I am positive they had a reason to. They were basically being thugs, um, and that's the truth. Um, and that at least half the time the person who got shot was being a thug, um, and that's the way that goes. Um, and just because, and the cop shot the person because he had to do what he had to do as a cop. That was his duty, because the person was at risk of doing something that would harm somebody else or others, or himself or others. And I think Black Lives Matter is, I guess it just sort of is misplaced because they're acting like they're oppressed in the whole country. Really, they aren't. I mean, yes, that does sometimes happen. Racism does sometimes occur. That is, racism against blacks is still something that occurs. However, blacks are racist towards whites as well. It's not a one-sided thing. There is such a thing as black supremacy and stuff like that. And black or white supremacy, I don't think either one is valid. Um, I think that we should try to live together and coexist, without trying to think about our races and trying to live together as people rather than as I'm white, you're whatever you are. And I think the whole Black Lives Matter movement is something that where it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it almost disgusts me a little bit here. And it disgusts me because all of the riots that occurred, all of the riots in Baltimore, Ferguson, Baton Rouge, Minneapolis, and all over the country, here in Omaha, there was a protest where they stupidly went out into the street. They had to block all of West Center Road here in Omaha because Black Lives Matter protesters were out there and they were in the middle of the fucking road. And it just seems a lot of it is just stupid, and thugs were killed, and as a result people are rising up and are acting like, blacks are so oppressed when a couple of thugs got killed, and that's about all that happened. Yeah, a couple of them were corrupt cops, but most of it was thugs being killed. Thugs acting like thugs. And I'm not trying to say that they're thugs because they're black. There are white thugs, there are Asian thugs. A thug is not a racist term. It's a term about somebody who is acting a certain way and behaving a certain way and living their life a certain way. And yes, a lot of the blacks that were killed were thugs, just that, thugs. And I'm tired of this. That like in Baltimore, where Freddie Gray got killed, everybody's looting and rioting and starting fires and just being horrible human beings over what? And I don't think this is for Freddie Gray. It's just because they want to loot shit and burn shit. It just really is just useless. The whole movement to me is useless. And it's, to me, it's a scourge. It's disgusting and it's horrible. And yes, Black lives do matter, and all lives do matter. However, what the Black Lives Matter people do is they act like they've been oppressed in a certain way when they really haven't. When it just was a couple thugs who got killed because they were acting like thugs. Imagine that. And there was a guy where in the recent Louisiana floods, where Black Lives Matter and the Black Panthers were there beforehand, ready to start a war or something. During these floods, people who needed rescue, they weren't there, and this black person who was making this video was just like, well, I kind of see where their priorities lie. They're trying to. It's just disgusting. It makes me want to throw up. I'm sorry, but let me know your thoughts on that. I could rant about this forever.